a responsibility, a regulatory responsibility to do certain things as a professional, and I always want to meet that criteria. And one of those criteria is often to know your customer and to have contact with your customer. Yes. So then if I'm unable to do that, I could be putting myself in jeopardy. And then on the broader point is, how can I do my job effectively if I can't get them to respond to me? That also is a hint that they don't value the relationship,
right?
That they think it might be a waste of time or unimportant, or even worse, they may not respect what I have to say.
Exactly.
Then we probably should part ways. And when we take on a particular client, we will let them know, listen, we expect that we're going to meet X number of times a year. We let them know we're going to do a monthly mailing. We let them know we have various client events through the year. And we tell them we're going to meet X number of times during the year. But if you need anything, something appears wrong on your statement, or you read something in the newspaper, or you have a particular thought about your investments, or something changes in your life, like your win motto, I usually joke, or, you have a job change or something like that, a life change, you have to let us know. We'll keep the lines of communication open to you, Mr. Client. But you, Mr. Client, also have to communicate with us. We want to hear about important things so that we could work together and make sure we're making the best decisions possible for the achievement of your financial goals. So that's important with the scope of relationship. I find it surprising, and maybe it's because I've been in the business 27 years and been immersed in this kind of stuff, but I'm surprised that more people don't kind of ask about that kind of thing. Like,
right.
What can you do for us? What areas do you go into? What areas you don't?
And what do I need to do?
Yeah, what's my role in this?
Yeah.
An example of don't, we have, we don't do property and casualty insurance as an example. We have relationships, we can make introductions, but we don't do that. As I said, we don't prepare tax returns, although we do tax planning. Those are some of the limitations, and those are good things to discuss to set the expectations for both parties. And what I found, because we try really, really hard to serve our clients well, if we know what's expected of us and we agree, there's a very good chance we'll achieve it because there's no mystery. And if you're meeting with an advisor and they say, we'll meet when we need to meet, when the situation calls for it. Personally, I think that would be worrisome.
Yes.
Because life happens. Most people are busy juggling different priorities, whether it's, with a spouse or loved one, taking care of children, working, could be in retirement, just traveling, enjoying grandkids, whatever. You could have a lot of time go like that without checking in, and that leads to an increase in the likelihood that opportunities are missed, mistakes are made, and problems can arise. And we want to avoid that for our clients. So scope of relationship, super important. And that leads us to the next to last thing we're going to talk about, which is understand the service model. So if you're meeting with an advisor, I think through questioning, you would want to get a sense of how is your account, how is your financial planning, investment needs going to be met. So years ago, Lindy, as you know, I was a one-man band. I did everything. I worked out of my house. I had a small group of clients, great group of clients. Yeah, that's a whole different episode of the podcast. And so, I would tell clients, and I would use it to my advantage. I would say, listen, you're going to deal with me. If you have a question, if you need something, it's going to be me. And, that had some appeal. As my business grew, though, and prospered, and I also wanted to do more for my clients, it became quite clear that I couldn't achieve my goals in terms of what I wanted to deliver to my clients without some help. Also, my desire to grow the business, to help more people, to have more revenue and profits meant that I was going to need help to grow. And so now today at Elliott Wealth Management, we use a team service model where you and I often meet with clients together. Sometimes it's me meeting with the client, and another time it'll be you meeting with a client. And one client in a year could have, let's say, 3 meetings, and one time could be you and I meeting with them, another time it could be me meeting with them, and the third time it could be you meeting with them without me. Also, sometimes it's a remote meeting where we'll do a webinar type format. Other times it'll be a conference call. It could be in the office. It could be at their home. So you want to have an idea of who's going to be working on your account and for what. We try and lay out to our clients that there's going to be lots of people that'll help through the process. We'll say that ultimately I'm responsible, but I don't do it alone, and my team is very competent, and we know what we can do and what we can't do. So you're going to get touched, if you will, have interactions with lots of people on the team. And that's worked out extremely well. And the clients like that there are more than one person that can help. We also have Buddy Hartman and Dave Lake, who are part of the team, that are CPAs that do more tax work than we do, but we can bring them in too. Clients seem to like that team service model. So if you're meeting with somebody, you'd want to ask them, who am I going to meet with? And give some examples. What if I have a question about my investments? Who would I go to? What if I have a question about my tax statement? Who do I go to? How often are we going to meet? How is that going to take place? Will it be at my home, in your office? Will it take place remotely? You'd want to have an appreciation of that. And that sets us up, Linda, you know full well, that if somebody else calls the client that may not have met, calls to, let's say, schedule a meeting, they shouldn't be surprised.
No.
They shouldn't really even expect that it would automatically be me or you, that it's all kind of interchangeable, and we're going to strive really hard to meet their needs. And we have a system, a business plan in place where we can meet the needs of the client with each of us attending to our areas of expertise as much as possible.
Exactly. I was just going to point that out.
Yeah?
There's this, our particular service model, there's two different benefits that it gives us. The first one is that the clients get taken care of no matter what. They call the office and they talk to somebody. Now, sometimes we might all be on the phone,
sure,
but most likely calls get answered, and if they aren't able to be directed to somebody that can answer their question right at that moment, somebody's able to call them back very soon. And the second part of that is that since we have different members of our team handling different things, we all have our own areas of expertise. So Lindy and Chris, we're pretty good at investment advice. If you have questions about your performance and, you know, different ideas you may want to kick around about the investments, you can talk to us. We're great at that. If you have questions on paperwork, though, that's not really our thing, but we have Brittany for that, and she's great at it, and she's perfect. So
yes,
call Brittany. If you have questions on life insurance, call Lindy. If you have questions on, I don't know what a client would call Paul for, but he has his own specialized part of what he does in the business.
Because he's operations. A lot of his work happens behind the scenes, but sometimes if somebody's having technical trouble getting into a webinar, you know, we'll have them go to Paul, because I'm not going to be able to help him much because I am very weak in that area. So it's not to say our business model is the best. Some people really like that model, but I could also see other people would say, I just want to deal with one person. I just want one person.
Exactly.
Now that plan has flaws. We met with a client this morning, and her accountant is a one-person operation and is an older individual and has some, I think, life difficulties. But our client sometimes goes months without getting a response from her accountant.
Yes.
That's the disadvantage of the one-person business model. It's great you always deal with that person, but if that person is not available for one reason or another, you're in a tremendous bind. We have overlap, and we've grown to the point where we have overlap, and that is good for the clients. It's also good for us, because if I have a day off, or if I have a day that I'm in training on, say, new tax legislation or something like that, I could focus on that, knowing that my clients, our clients, will be well taken care of, and I could focus on what I'm doing instead of having on that day juggling all kinds of different priorities, and then I don't get as much out of the training I'm in, or I don't get to enjoy my leisure time as much as I would. So that's our service model. The key thing, though, is to find out up front how it's going to work, how often you're going to be seen, who's going to be seen, and what the division of duties are. You don't have to get into every single example ever, but you definitely want to have a sense. I think we do a really good job in setting expectations that there's going to be lots of people that are part of the process to help.
Yes.
And we're all responsible for satisfying your needs, and we're going to work really hard. And people are very pleased with it. And it's very rare today where somebody would call and say, I don't want to talk to you, I only deal with so-and-so.
And I'd like to toot our own horn one more time
Go ahead.
on this. But the part of our service model that me and you are always working together, the fact that clients can come to us and know that they have two different people at all times looking at their information, coming together with ideas, and just making sure their stuff is covered 100%,
Sure.
I think is powerful for us. Again, it may not work for everybody, and people might not like that. They might not like two people.
And some people
but it
might
works
want
really well for us.
Yeah, and some people might want a larger team. You could go to one of the major wirehouses, a Merrill Lynch or UBS, Morgan Stanley, and we have a small, great team. It's a smallish team though. You could go into some of those firms and you could be in a team with 18, 22 people. And that might be what you want and or need, but you want to know up front when you're trying to figure out if you're with the right firm and with the right advisor, or thinking about signing up with the right firm and the right advisor. The last of the 10 things is on the compliance side. So we're in a very regulated industry, so having a discussion with the advisor about their compliance landscape. So how do they get paid? Who is the governing regulatory body? Is it the state? Is it the SEC? Is it FINRA, which is a government regulatory body? That's actually our primary government oversight organization. And find out about the compliance record. These things are public. You could go to, FINRA Broker Check, and you could look at my 27-year record. If a client made a complaint, you could see it there. If I switch from one firm to another, which I've been in a few firms over the course of my career, you can see that. You could see what licenses the advisor has, what states they're approved to do business in, or I should say what states they're currently doing business in. So you want to have a discussion about that. I've been in business 27 years. I have a good compliance record. But if people look me up, they'll see that back in 2012.
I think it was 12, yeah.
I had a client complaint. This is kind of like when you're in school. If a client makes a complaint, it goes on your permanent record. So I wouldn't say if somebody has a blemish on their record, that should be an automatic disqualification.
But you should ask about it.
But you should ask about it. So in my instance, a relatively new client made a complaint. I made a defense of myself to the regulatory agencies, long detailed, pushing back on their allegations. The regulatory agency looked into it, found the accusations without merit. They told the client, we find no merit, and then the matter was dropped. Now, it's on my record. I wish I could say I have no blemishes on my record. I do. And I think I was wronged, candidly. But it's a system that it is. But I would suggest that you check out the broker check and you talk to the person. And if there are blemishes and you kind of feel like you like them and you feel like you could trust them and everything else is lining up, to have a conversation about that. And if you've been in business 27 years and I've interacted with lots of people, you'd think that somewhere along the line something may have gone wrong, maybe not maliciously, but stuff does happen. We deal with markets and investments that are uncertain. So find out about how they're governed from a regulatory standpoint, because all advisors have strict regulations they adhere to. Find out how that works and what their record is like. And the last thing I'll say on that before I get your quick thoughts is, how do they work to be compliant? Not just the letter of the law, but what the spirit is. And that ties into a little bit of the service model. You have to know your customers, one of the key criteria we work under. So we have a system where we contact clients at regular intervals that's agreed upon as part of the relationship with the client. And by us doing that, it serves the client well, it serves us well, but it also serves the function of maintaining a very high level of compliance with not just the letter of the rules, but the spirit of the rules, where they want you to know your client, to check in with your client, and to be able to adjust to changes in your client's life or changes in the marketplace, the economy, investment offerings. And a good example of this is lots of investments have become less expensive over time. And you could have a client that you